Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy LB coming at you guys with a brand new video. If you're tuned into my channel, I am Nelson89. Please like, share, subscribe, uh, leave a comment. Just help support me and get this small channel built up a little bit more. So, with today's video, man, I wanted to do my Gojira CD collection. They came out with their brand new album last month called Fortitude, which I have in my collection. Great album, might I add. So I've been on a bit of a Gojira kick here lately, and I decided, why don't I just show my Gojira CD collection? It's not a vastly huge collection, but still, I just thought I could just go through a quick run through and talk about each album that I have in my collection, and maybe encourage somebody out there who's not that familiar with Gojira to maybe go and check out their discography. Because they're honestly one of the best modern metal bands out there, and in the past 6 years or so, man, they've really raised their profile, especially over here in the States. I mean, they just continue to amaze and wow me and so many other fans. Me and a couple of friends even got the chance to go see them live 2 years ago, which was one of the best shows, the best live shows that I've ever seen. So if Gojira happens to come into your neck of the woods, into your town, your city, wherever, definitely don't hesitate to go get tickets to that show, because you will be blown away, and it's definitely worth the money. So without further ado, let's get into my Gojira CD collection. All right, so the first album we have is their debut album called Terra Incognita, which was originally released in 2001. And this is a reissue that came out in 2016, not too long after they released their, at the time, recent album, Magma. This record right here, though, this is a different kind of Gojira, because at the point when they did this record, they were still kind of sort of transitioning from their early straightforward death metal style when they were known as Godzilla. But at this point, the band was more of a technical death metal band, but they still got those elements of groove metal that's coming in there, and there's slight hints of the progressive elements that would come in on later albums. But for the most part, this is pretty much a brutal, well, not a brutal, but it's pretty much a technical death metal album. I think it's probably one of Gojira's darkest albums, one of their heavier albums as well. Joe, as a vocalist, I don't think he uses any clean vocals on this album at all. I think for the most part, he uses brutal, more aggressive a vocal approach on here. But honestly, I don't listen to this album that much. Every once in a while, I will get on the kick and listen to this record. By no means do I think that it's a bad record. It's a solid debut album, but I started with Magma and I worked my way backwards, so it doesn't have a lot of those elements that really made me a fan of them from Magma. It's more of a straightforward technical death metal album with some groove metal elements. I know one song in particular that I do enjoy off this record. Well, maybe a couple of songs. I like Deliverance, Space Time, Lizard Skin, but probably my favorite song on here is Blow Me Away Universe, because they actually played that live at the show that I saw them at, and hearing that song live was amazing, especially the last part where it gets to that really heavy bass rhythm and groove. It's just an amazing song, man. And they extend that part, so live it almost puts you in a trance, so to speak, man. And this reissue comes with a few bonus tracks, man. It comes with some three live songs, but it's a solid debut album, man. But I'm not gonna say it's one of the best Gojira albums, but it's definitely a solid debut album. All right, so the next album is The Link. Excuse me, sorry about that glare. The Link, released, I think this came out in 2002 originally, 2002 or 2003. But it kind of follows the same formula as the previous album, Terra Incognita. But I will say that with The Link, this is where the band really started to add in a bit more of the progressive metal elements. the technical death metal is still intact. It's still intact. You know, Joe's vocal approach is still more guttural and brutal, but you can kind of hear the progressive metal elements sneaking in there a bit. And like I said, this album and the previous one, I don't really listen to them a whole lot. I do listen to the Link a little bit more than I do Terra Incognita. I know the song called Indians and Embrace the World are some favorites of mine. It's heavy. It's a heavy record, man. But like I said, this album was the sort of the beginning of when you can kind of hear them transitioning and moving more towards that more progressive post metal type sound that they would really take off with later. But all around, I think that the Link is a bit more of an improvement over Terra Incognita. But a pretty solid follow up to that record, I might say. But definitely a record worth checking out if you happen to find it somewhere. All right, so then we get to the next album, From Mars to Sirius, released in 2004, I believe, originally, or 2005. It's somewhere around that era, but yeah, this album right here, From Mars to Sirius, this is the album where Gojira really started to fully find their sound. This is where they really started to come into their own. The progressive metal elements are more prevalent on this record. Lots of more groove. There's still some technical death metal elements in there, but you can tell by the time that they made this record, that they were moving more away from their death metal roots, and they were going more, progressive. Lots of kind of progressive ambient sounds, atmospheric vibes all through the music and such. So most Gojira fans cite this as their best album. I don't know if I totally agree with that. I do think that it's a groundbreaking record within their discography, because this was the beginning of an evolution for Gojira with this record. This was different from the previous two albums. This was the start of an evolution, a new era for the band. So I do think it is groundbreaking in that manner, but I don't know personally if I consider it to be their best record. Of course, it has some of their most popular songs, such as Ocean Planet, The Heaviest Matter of the Universe, of course, Flying Whales, which I heard live. And, people just go nuts when they hear that song live, man. There's a lot of great songs on this record. And like I said, most Gojira fans will consider this to be their best record. I'm not going to personally call it the best Gojira album, but I will say it's one of their best. It's one of their top ones. All right, so next album we have is The Way of All Flesh. This one was released in 2008 originally, I believe. Yeah, the CDs that I have, most of these are reissues that came out in later years. But yeah, this originally came out in 2008. And personally, I like this album better than From Mars to Sirius. I think The Way of All Flesh was actually a bit better. I think that the band really started to hone in their craft and really find their identity as a band with this record. So this is actually probably my second favorite Gojira album. Because anytime I get on a Gojira kick, The Way of All Flesh is usually one of the main albums that I go for when I'm on my Gojira kicks, man. But I really like this record, man. I like it. I think it's a solid record all the way through. I think it's really great. I don't think there's a bad track on this album, man. So many good songs on here, man. Orobis, Toxic Garbage Island, which I love that one part, that heavy riff before the chorus comes in, very Tool inspired. Really dig that heavy chorus. Let's see here. All the Tears, Adoration for None, which features Randy Blythe from Lamb of God. let's see, The Art of Dying, Exoteric Surgery, Vacuity, Wolf Down the Earth. I think every song on this album is good. It's, to me, The Way of All Flesh is one of those albums where it just keeps getting better as the album goes along. You just want more and more, and you're sitting there wondering, like, man, can this album get any better than this? Honestly, but I enjoy The Way of All Flesh a bit more than From Mars to Sirius, and most of you watching this video right now can probably tell by my enthusiastic discussion about it that it's one of my favorites, man. But I really enjoy this record. So, definitely if you happen to be in a record store somewhere and you come across this album, definitely pick it up, man. It's definitely one of their best records. All right, so next album is, and I hope I'm pronouncing this title right. I want to say L'Enfant Sauvage. Yeah, I hope I pronounced that title right. I probably just butchered it, man. But this right here, this is right as of right now. I will say that this is my number one favorite Gojira album. I really enjoy this record. I listened to it quite a bit. Uh, I bought this right after I bought Magma, because I was blown away by Magma, and I wanted to instantly go on the Gojira journey. And this is one of the first ones I started with, going on, checking out their back catalog, man. Really enjoy this record. I think it's one of their top records. Honestly, I would say that as of right now, well, maybe not as of right now, but I would say that it's one of their top records, man. Like, if I was doing a tier list, I would probably put this record at S tier, because I just think it's one of their most complete records, man. It's still more of an evolving sound, but they're tackling in those roots of the more heavier technical metal, and they're also bringing in that progressive elements that they had started with from Mars to Sirius and The Way of All Flesh, and then the heavy grooves are very prominent on this record. I feel like this album is a bridge between the two previous ones, From Mars to Sirius and The Way of All Flesh, to what they would later formulate on Magma. I feel that this album is that bridge. And I think at the time, you could say that this was probably their most complete record. Not only that, but as far as singing, uh, I would say that Joe, he started to really implement tad bits of clean singing on this record. For instance, the song called "Born in Winter," the first few verses on there, he sings in a clean vocal tone, but it does get heavy. It does get heavy, but there's so much, atmosphere and you know ambience, and there's all kinds of layers that are involved in this sound on this record, man, that I really enjoy, man. And one of my top favorite songs on here is "Playing Obsolence," man. It's such a heavy groove laying track, man, and I don't know, man. You got to check out the song called "Playing Obsolence," man. But every song on this album is great, man. I mean, the title track was a single, it's a fan favorite. I got to hear it live. The Axe, Liquid Fire, Mouth of Kayla. So many great songs on this record, man. It's really such a great listen, man. It's definitely one of their greatest albums that they've ever put out. So, uh, L'Enfant Sauvage, man, is definitely as of right now, my number one favorite Gojira album. So definitely pick this up if you ever come across it at a record store. And next, we have the album that actually got me into Gojira, and that is Magma, which came out 2016. And I would say that this was the record right here that really took Gojira to the next level, especially over here in the States. I think this was the album where they really got a lot of more attention, and their popularity rose a whole lot more over here in the States. And of course, like I said, this was the album where I first heard about them, went to the record store and immediately bought it, and I was blown away from the first song, Shooting Stars. Just a great album all around. I would say it's one of their more accessible albums. Don't get me wrong, it's still progressive, still technical, but it's a bit more simplified, more of a it's just got more of an accessible approach. I mean, the big single from this song, Stranded, I think that song got played on the radio, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was getting played on the radio. And Silvera, The Cell, so many great songs. I will say that after the song Pray, the last three songs kind of lost me a little bit when I listened to this record. Although it has grown on me a bit more recently, those songs have grown on me, especially the song called Pray. But for the most part, I think this is a solid album, and yeah, it really helped to raise their profile, and I think it really helped to get them recognized as one of the most unique and best metal bands out here. But so many good songs, and also this is the album where Joe really started to implement more of his clean singing on songs, especially on the title track. Of course, him and his brother Mario, who's the drummer, uh, while they were writing this album and recording it, their mother passed away. So a lot of that had to do. It affected their writing process. So a lot of that, them dealing with their mother's death, really influenced, the approach that they took with this record. But like I said, man, I think it's a great record, man. It's a great record. I still enjoy listening to it. And last but not least, we have the new album Fortitude, which came out April 30th of this year. Highly anticipated because I mean Magma came out in 2016, so that's 5 years we have been waiting for a new Gojira record. They released the single Another World. It was either earlier this year or sometime last year, but that was the first song that they came out with. And then right when they announced the album coming out, that's when they really start coming out with the singles and videos. But I'm gonna be honest with you, Fortitude, Fortitude just might end up being my number one favorite Gojira album. I don't know. It might knock Leia Funk Savage down. It might even knock down The Way of Our Flesh. But this is a wonderful record, man. I've really enjoyed listening to this record ever since I've bought it. It was definitely worth the wait. And as of right now, I'm gonna say that this is my third favorite Gojira album, and it's contender for being their best album. It's contender for being their best album, man. I've seen a lot of reviews on YouTube, people already commenting like, "Hey, this could be Gojira's best album." I will say right now that this is their most complete record because they're going back to their roots on this record from the earlier records, and they're also bringing in new elements. I will say that Fortitude is doing what From Mars to Sirius did back in the past, back in 2004, 2005. It's the beginning of a new era for Gojira. So listening to this record is making me wonder, where are they gonna go from here? Where are they gonna go from here? Because they're tapping into their roots. The heaviness is there. The aggression, but also the melody is coming in, and there's these a lot more progressive elements that are coming in too. Like some of the songs here kind of reminded me of like something that Pink Floyd would do, like the chant. I don't know, the chant just gives me kind of like Pink Floyd vibes. And there's a lot more of a roots era Sepultura vibe on a lot of these songs, and the way that they add in these worldly influences to their sound, especially on songs like Amazonia. And there's just so much good songs. There's just so much good music on here. Newfound is probably my favorite one on here. Grind is not slowly. Grind is gradually becoming one of my favorites on here as well. Into the Storm is another great one. The Trails. Now on this song, Joe actually uses his clean vocals throughout the majority of the song, if not all of it. And when I first heard that song, I didn't even realize it was him. I thought maybe they had a guest appearance on the song, but no, that's Joe actually singing in his clean vocal tone, and he does such a great job. I know me and a friend, who I actually went to the show with 2 years ago, we were talking about how Joe feels so much comfortable doing his clean vocals on this album because he implements it so much more on this record than he done on the previous records. But I just really dig this record, man. Every time I listen to it, man, I just keep finding new things to really enjoy about it. And that's what you want. That's what you want with a great record. You want something that's going to keep you interested every time you go back and you listen to it, man. It's just a wonderful album, man. And these guys really did their thing on this record, man. And I'm enjoying it. And I'm definitely gonna put this as like my number one album, my number one metal album for the year. If I do a list, I usually don't do these lists, but if I do a list, or if I don't, just know that Fortitude will be my number one metal album for the year, man. But just a wonderful record, man. And so that's it with my Gojira CD collection. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. And for anybody out there who may not be that familiar with Gojira, or you may be a little bit skeptical whether you should get into this band, I personally highly recommend that you get into them. They are definitely one of the most unique and most groundbreaking metal bands out there. I can't really explain it, man. They just go on YouTube or Spotify, wherever you consume music from. Just go in there and check it out for yourself. I guarantee you won't be disappointed, man. They put out such great music, and I've really enjoyed my Gojira journey. I'm still enjoying it, and I hope I can get to see them live again. They're supposed to be going on tour with Alien Weaponry, another band that I really enjoy, and Knock Loose, a hardcore band that I'm not too familiar with, but I don't know if I'll get to see them live this year because, with everything that's happening with, the situation, I'll call it, I'm still a bit skeptical about, I don't know if I want to be in a huge crowd with a bunch of metalheads because I doubt you can't tell a bunch of metalheads a social distance, man. I don't know how that's going to work. But anyway, I hope to see them live again soon, man, because I definitely want to hear a lot of these songs live in a live setting, man, because I've enjoyed them so much listening to them on the record. I want to hear the new songs as well, especially the chant. I want to hear a lot of these new songs live. But yeah, definitely go and check out Gojira, man, because they're a band they're gonna go down in history as one of the greatest metal bands of all time. And I'm glad that I got on the wave before it was too late or anything like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to my channel. I am Nelson89. Check out my other videos. Check out some of my podcast videos. I haven't really done a podcast in a while because I just been trying to focus on maybe doing a little bit more videos to help kind of build up the channel a bit more like I did in the past. But definitely check out the podcast videos, episodes that I do have on the channel. Leave a comment, tell me what you think. Constructive criticism is appreciated. And as always, hope everybody enjoys their week, the rest of their day, evening, wherever you may be. And love, peace, and music. Peace out.